Feruchemy, a magic born of two opposing gods, gifted to a people who made their home in the frozen mountains, blessed by not one, but two shard pools. But what does it mean to be the balance between two opposites? That's the question we'll explore today. Class is in session. This lesson will contain spoilers, mostly for Mistborn Era 1 and technically Era 2 as well. Before I start the lesson, I wanted to give you a quick recap from last month. I went to JordanCon. It was a blast. I got to see a bunch of my old friends, I met some new ones, and I got to see a lot of fans in cosplay. My team, the Copperminds, took first place in Cosmere trivia. I showed off a Roshar wargame I made. The link will be in the description of this video. I even got to ask Brandon a question. To see what I asked, and to see what the answer was, check out the Lightcallers channel and their most recent Kevin 7 time of recording. A lot of folk from Team Dragonsteel were there. They did panels on the editorial process, the art of the Cosmere, and the food of the Cosmere. All in all, it was a blast, and I can't wait for Nexus. While I have you, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop the teacher a comment, and let all your Cosmere friends know about my channel. Now, on to the actual lesson. We know that allomancy and hemalurgy are opposites. Well, that might be oversimplifying, but they come from opposing shards, and they contrast in a lot of ways. We know this because Thesis outright tells us, from the fact that preservation can directly power allomancy, and ruin can control people with hemalurgic spikes. Thesis famously calls one of them N positive, and the other N negative. But what about Feruchemy? Being N neutral, it's somewhat understood to be a middle ground between the two. But what exactly does that mean? I intend to show that it's not as simple as a straight line directly between two extremes. Rather, we'll discover that it stitches the two poles together, sometimes like one, sometimes like the other. Since we're growing more and more to think of shards and arcana in terms of music and tonality, rather than a single note spaced between the two others, it's more of a trill, two notes played in rapid alternation, producing an effect which brings the two together. One reason that powers can't truly be called opposites is that in many aspects, they tend to agree. Whenever they do, Feruchemy joins in. Like Skybreakers arguing with Windrunners, sometimes the most intense fights crop up specifically because two groups are so similar that their differences become much more stark. So, for example, we have that all three metallic arts use, well, metal. In fact, the same 16 metals. And even the individual powers have some overlap. Senses and physical strength show up in all three arts. And of course, there's the fact that half the powers of hemalurgy are to steal the powers of the other two arts. But now, let's explore where the two opposing arts differ, and how Feruchemy matches sometimes to one, sometimes to the other. The powers of allomancy can be either internal or external. Hemalurgy is exclusively internal. Yes, it can grant external allomantic powers, but the hemalurgy itself is still something internal. In this regard, Feruchemy is the same as hemalurgy. It only directly affects the person using the power. Well, apart from how you charge a spike in the first place. The abilities granted by hemalurgy are constant. Whether a stolen allomantic power or just the strength from an iron spike, you always have the bonus at that level all the time. It never gets stronger, it never gets weaker. You never decide to turn it on or off. Allomancy and Feruchemy must be actively used. Allomancy burns away the metal used. In the other two, the metal holds the power, but is itself unaffected. Allomancy and Feruchemy are powers a person is simply born with. Hemalurgy is an art anyone with the right knowledge could apply. In allomancy, the power comes directly from a shard. The power in Feruchemy and Hemorrhagy must, with some exceptions, come from a mortal body. In fact, one of the only exceptions to this tendency is where Feruchemy is different, but the others are the same. In Allomancy and Hemorrhagy, the metal must be inside the body somehow in order to be used, while with Feruchemy, it's enough to simply touch the metal. Ultimately, what we discover is that Feruchemy isn't some point of balance between two extremes. It's the middle ground, but it's on average, sometimes matching one side, sometimes the other. Perhaps this is the lesson the powers can teach their shard. Harmony is paralyzed because he can take no action that will satisfy both of his shards. Perhaps, instead of trying to take actions which please both shards at once, he should be finding a way to ruin it sometimes and preserve it others. Your homework is to let me know in the comments what you think of my new set. Hope you enjoy it. And also let me know if I should expect to see you at Dragonsteel Nexus this year. Class dismissed.